Pease, and I'm the research manager of this project.
I'm Jonathan Foster, the group leader.
I am Nicholas Sparks, and I'm the communications manager.
And our project is supplementing technology advancements to navigate the management of applied networking. But you can just call it STANDMAN, it's catchier. So what our project is we are redesigning one of the rooms here. It's in the back, across over there. That isn't really used for anything other than just a green screen whenever we need one of those. So we will be turning it into a network operations center, which NOC, you can call it NOC. What its function is it will be doing performance monitoring for the network, because early on in the year, or really every school early on in the year when it has lots of new students coming in, it will have lots of network issues, like bottlenecks and just the bandwidth not going the way it should to all students. This is a problem for teachers and students connecting to the network. If there's a test, students can't connect if it's online. So it's just not good for a school network to be reliable. And so to save us time and money, instead of bringing our IT guys every time we have a minor problem, if it's a problem, we can fix it locally with troubleshooting and with the monitoring provided through this. It will also serve as a student learning, it has a student learning component to it. We made an online website, the manual, which has lots of networking terms so they can learn about it, as well as hands-on learning through the NOC. And as well as that, it is a big showcase feature, which I know Ms. Starks would love. One of our sponsors are walking through, it has a nice big window, so you can see right in, and since this is a STEM school, there isn't a lot of technology represented, so this will definitely be a big technology representation brought to the school.
Alright, so after we figured out where we wanted to put this, we had to figure out kind of what we wanted to do. So we had to figure out the functions of it, and then we had to figure out how much it would cost and and what it would look like. So that's why we have the design here. And as you can see, we have a monitor here, which is where we would be doing the performance monitoring. And these two computers and the printer would be for the students to use. And then also we have this whiteboard. If you can see there, we have a whiteboard here so you can write down stuff, you have ideas, whatnot. Also, as he was saying, it being a student help desk, in these cabinets here, we would have things like headphones, flash drives, anything that any average student may need during their school day. We had kind of outlined it and got that the budget for this would be somewhere around $4,000 to $5,000, including everything in there and the software to run the performance monitoring. The next half of the project is what he covered is the website that we created. And this website, as you can see, it's a student NOC manual, so it will kind of run as a networking 101 for all the students here at iSchool to be able to kind of get just the basics of networking. We are a STEM school, that's good to know, at least something of it. Also, it's a manual, so it'll also kind of help to allow them to know how to run the NOC and everything in it.
Now, we had our idea completed, and so we were ready to pitch to corporate RES. However, we had a lot of trouble communicating with corporate RES. We sent multiple emails and tried a few phone calls over a few weeks. We got very little response. And so eventually we managed to get some details about what was going on. And what we did not find out until it was a little too late was that they had already passed already had their budget meeting for the next school year's spending. So even if we did pitch, nothing would get done, because they already approved what they would spend and so on big projects like this. So what we decided to do to compensate for that, since we would not be able to actually see this room built over the summer like we originally planned, we made a formal plan for next year's group to not only propose our project to corporate, but to add on to it, to see it through to completion, whatever that would mean for them. So in addition to polishing out what we have, they would also add on to it and innovate it in some way. Perhaps add a few things to the room, like lamps that we did not think of. They would finalize and find not only what items to purchase, but where to purchase them from, who to purchase to, make connections with people that Mrs. Starks may know, find ways to reduce the cost of the room, find ways to improve our project in ways that we could not. And so we've detailed everything that we know, everything that our project is on this flash drive, so that next year they can just pick it up and get going. And so we are Stan the Man. I'm Jonathan,
I'm Nick.
I'm Jordan.
and thank you for listening. Are there any questions?
My question is, I'm sorry, so what happens when I stick that flash drive in my computer?
There's actually 2 flash drives. The first one, which is this one, has a few documents on it. Oh. See. Right now it has a bunch of other stuff because this flash drive is meant for show. But we do have all the documents on here.
Yeah.
For example, and expand that for you. Right now, the formal plan is about 9 pages long. We've detailed our history and a description of our project and the way we gave it to you, except a little more detail. And we listed the functions of it, the needed materials that they will need to pick up our project, like they need Google SketchUp to actually use our model and look at it, and make improvements if need be. We gave them instructions on how to kind of jumpstart the project since they're going to be starting a lagging period when they first start, since they have a lot to learn about our project. And so on and so forth. We pretty much wrote down a bunch of details about what they need to know and about what they could potentially do further to improve our project.
Question.
Yes?
Go back to the beginning.
Up to the top.
What, no, but in the very beginning, the purpose of the room, just in one sentence or less, the purpose of the room, is it a teaching tool? Is it a tool designed to correct issues that may be taking place within the building? What are the key purposes of the room?
If we had to boil it down to 1 or 2 sentences about what the main purposes of this room would be, it would be 2 purposes. The main purpose would be to consistently monitor the network and to collect data on what is going through. For example, if a whole bunch of people are accessing Schoology at one particular point during the day, which causes some lag on the network, the performance monitor will pick that up. And so monthly, the student or teacher, however Ms. Stark would like it to be, will review that data and determine what tweaks to the network could be done to make sure that the network doesn't start bottling up again like it has been this year. Second purpose would be to serve as a student center to make things convenient for students for studying and for using computers and so forth. Are there any questions?
Yes. Can you go back to your budget? You said it was 4,000 to 5,000?
4 to 5,000, yes. Our estimate was around 1,450.
You said
Oh,
4,500?
sorry,
Yeah.
4,500.
That's fine,
Excuse
that's
me.
fine.
Excuse me.
4,500?
4,500.
4,500.
Oh.
We actually got this estimate. Would you like to talk about Terry? Sorry.
Terry Wright is one of Ms. Starks' friends that we contacted through her. Basically, he is an architect, and he came over and looked at our room and just answered our questions, kind of what we wanted to put in there, how we wanted it to look, and he just gave us a general statement of, oh, it's going to cost this much to put in flooring, this much to put in cabinets,
Okay.
and so the 4,500 was the overall estimate.
So that's just that's the building material. That's not the hardware.
The actual cost that he gave us was 4,000. We added a little bit of an extra 1,000 on top of that as extra room for anything else we might need,
Okay.
like lamps. He didn't mention any accessories that would go in there. We already have computers and printers, so we
Oh,
can
okay.
provide
So you
those.
have the hardware already.
Yeah,
Okay.
we have majority of the hardware. There are a few things we could buy, which is why we upped it to 4,500.
Does this cover software that you might need to buy then?
There are 2 options for software. The first, it's a cheaper way, but it's not as reliable, as you can find a bunch of different free versions of performance monitors online, which there are, and try to find a way to combine different types of software from those and get the data that we're looking for. Or there's also a service called What's Up Gold, which is a professional performance monitor that would do everything that we need and even more, which actually Willie Scott, the head industrial engineer of our IT person for RES suggested what's a goal to us. And that would typically cost around an additional 1,000 or 1,500 depending upon what version we get.
Would the students then, I mean, who would have access? I mean, is it just for monitoring? Would the students then be able to adjust the network? Who would have access to the network? Actual settings along those lines for like security reasons and stuff like that?
We did think about that. Security was a very big concern for us because this is dealing with the school network. And with the software that we're looking at, people would be able to see what particular IP addresses are looking at what particular websites. Although they would not be able to pinpoint what particular device, what particular user that is. We did think about that. And so the computer itself would be under lock and key. It would not be able to be accessed unless you have a password and a physical key to actually unlock like a little latch, which administration would have. And depending upon what they would wish, maybe a few trusted seniors might have access to it, but more than likely, only the administration would actually have the ability to change any settings through the software.
Is there any personal handoff plan other than giving them a little memory stick and saying, here it is? I mean, how does it really, for a school to invest $4,000 or $5,000 and you guys are moving on, how do you sell that to the next, to the school? And how do you really, because you put a lot of thought into this, how do you really pass it on to the next generation?
That's something that I personally thought of as the group leader. Whenever we realized that we would not be actually able to see this project through, I started thinking about how could we actually get this project to move on? How could we get somebody to pick it up? Because so far it sounds we would either to another future group either be really easy and therefore they do it and not take it seriously, or nobody would do it, which we don't want either of those to happen. We want to see it through. And so I've already personally spoken to a few juniors to see if they'd be interested in taking it up. And beyond that, what we really hoped to do was for Willie Scott, our IT mentor, to actually come here to the school at one point whenever the students are choosing the projects, and for him to explain it to them and talk about his experiences with us as we communicated with him. And that might hopefully inspire a group to pick up the project.
Can you go to your SketchUp view real quick? I only had like an aesthetics thought of if this room's designed kind of be a feature kind of walk through, get to look through the glass, kind of see the live stats update. You have your performance monitor on that right side of the wall of like your live usage. I would think about maybe moving that on the wall that's directly opposite of your window, just because then people don't have to look at it in an angle, and depending on the monitor, you won't be able to see what's going on in any way. So, I mean, maybe even size it up to where you can actually see live usage stat graph or something. I mean, if that's the goal, to make it kind of a feature, you kind of want to make it easy to people to kind of see what's going on if the live interaction is kind of what you're hoping to show. Or if that's a limit, you could just put a small monitor outside of the room that shows the current usage and stuff. That's easier too.
Well, part of what we were thinking was almost along the same lines of security. Like, we didn't want it to be like so out there that like everyone passing by would see it.
Mm-hmm.
And if Ms. Starks was giving a tour, she would be able to bring them in the room and show it off inside, so the whole field.
However, we did design two potential designs. This was one of them. The other was the way you described, where the monitor was on that wall, and these two computers were on the other side, where they were flipped. We chose to go with this one because of the reason Jordan described.
Okay.
But you do make a good point. We might actually include that in our plans.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.